Great. Um, okay, so yeah, we're on page Nundalid.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I only missed 1 week.
Why we didn't get that far? You only missed 1 week?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I don't think
I know, I'm not.
we only got a few more pages, I think.
Oh, oh, they're double time. Okay,
Yeah.
we were on.
Okay, just yeah, okay, fine. So we talked about shevirah kelim, we talked about the Rapach Nitzotzos, and now for the rest of the Hakdama, which hopefully it's a little bit, it's a bunch of pages, but hopefully we'll try to go through just the main text quickly to kind of cover it, so that we're at a good stopping point before we break next week for Purim. He's going to try and talk to us a little bit about what the avoda, what the idea of being ma'al the nitzotzos, being mavar nitzotzos within each of the seven lower spheros actually is, right? The shevirah takes place within the seven lower spheros. So the seven lower spheros themselves, so to speak, break. The breaking of this of those kalim, of those spheres themselves, is just a consequence of the fact that they're trying to assert themselves, so to speak, right? And therefore, by default, they kind of create a period of separation from Hakadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak. Again, all of this is being done by Hakadosh Baruch Hu in order to create the awareness of this reality within ourselves, and to create the practical opportunity for Bechira and Avoda. But in any case, the seven lower spheros, the kalim of the seven lower spheros, shatter, they break, they fall downwards, right? They manifest greater and greater period, greater and greater separation, more hagshama, more nature, more sense of separation and independent existence from the all-encompassing yichud and reality of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, of the Or Ein Sof. And each and those seven sefiros, which now are existing in the state of kelipah, both the gimel klipos tameos and then klipos noga, they're filled with endless amounts of nitzotzos, endless amounts of small little tiny sparks of the Or Ein Sof, not full, full giloy, not full expression that we can easily grasp, but little tiny nitzotzos, right? The mushal being the things that are hard to grasp. It's one thing for the shevirah kelim, for the kalim that are now broken, that are now sort of the material world, to be holding or. Right, to be holding the full power of the or, so then we would know that Hakadosh Baruch Hu is here, there, and everywhere. But because we're only taught, because what's present is really nitzotzos, which is really just the or av, the orgas, the sort of the coarser, more mugusham, the more material aspect of or within each sphere, and that's the only thing that's present within material reality. So it's just a nitzos, it's just a little tiny hint of the reality of Hakadosh Baruch Hu's presence and ratzon creating those things. And that's what we find everything in, and that's what we find, and our goal, as we talked about last week, our goal is to be mavar those nitzotzos from within klipas noga, within all of the neutral things that exist within the world, not usher things. Usher things also we can be mavar the klipas noga, but only through abstinence, right? How am I mavar the klipa the nitzotz within the ham sandwich? By not eating it, right? The ham sandwich is there and it smells good and it looks delicious, and I'm very hungry and I don't eat it, so I reveal through the negative that the ham sandwich doesn't contain or, so to speak, and that's megala the or, the nitzotz that's within the ham sandwich, in sort of a backwards kind of way. But when it comes to things that are mutter, things that are dvarim shevirah, right? The food that I eat, the clothes that I wear, assuming they're not shatnez, the food that I eat, assuming it's not, it's kosher, making refined decisions, God-conscious decisions, bekavana, within the space of what's mutter, right? Kadesh atzmechem b'mutter lach, like the Ramban says on Kedoshim Tiyu. That's the space of being mavar the nitzotzos within klipas noga, and that is being done within all seven spheres, right? All seven lower spheres. So he spends the rest of the chapter sort of giving us a little bit of a explanation.
Ham sandwich also or not?
What do you mean?
You just finished saying that when you choose, you said that you could find the nitzotos in something that's asur?
Yes, but only through avoiding, but not through engaging with it, only by not engaging with it. So it's an indirect way of being mavar nitzotos within those things. Okay, so he says on Nundalit, he says va'ata nevar avodas kol hazayin midos bepratius. Now I'm going to explain to you the avoda that's related to each of these 7 midos, each of these 7 lower spheros. Va'bechira bahem shenasa al yedei shevirah, and the bechira that we now can exercise within each of those midos, right? Because we have these 7 midos within us. We exhibit within ourselves chesed, gevur, tiferes, netzach, hod, yisod, malchus. And through our exercise, through our practice of those 7 midos that we have, we're mavar nitzotzos, that through our exercise of the choice that we have, the bechira that we have about how to use them. So he's going to explain what that means. This is by way of a sort of not direct introduction, but we pick up a lot of info about the series in general through this little bit. Okay, the truth is we could probably spend several weeks on just the rest of the Hakdama, but let's not. Let's move through it. We'll have more opportunity to discuss series more at length and in more detail later on in the next few Hakdamas afterwards. Okay, so Hine. Hazayin Kalim Tachtonim Him. The 7 lower Kalim that break, so right, that break and fall, they are Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. And their function and the way that what they're giving over, what they're imparting, what they're revealing, that'll all be explained later on. And from these 7 Sefiros come 7 midos, 7 character traits, 7 impulses, 7 ways of being within a person. Shehem Ava, which are Ava, Yira, Hisparos, Nitzachon, Hodaya, Hiskashros, Malucha. Love, fear, beauty, determination, conciliation or gratitude, connection, connectivity, and sovereignty, Malucha. And our role in terms of being mavar the nitzotzos that are present within the shivrei kelim of these 7 Sefiros, our avoda is l'shtamesh bahem l'tzarach avodas Hashem Yisbarach, to use these 7 midos, which are expressions, this worldly expressions of those 7 Sefiros, i.e., these are the shiras hakelim that we're talking about in a certain sense, and to use them for avodas Hashem v'lo lahepach, and not to use them for the opposite of avodas Hashem. And this is a big part of what being mavar nitzotzos is, right? So in terms of refining ourselves, right? If we are the human being is a komas adam, and the whole world is a komas adam, right? We talked about how, that the Ar Yashar of the Kav is the spheres arranged in the form of a human being, because the human being is the model for all of reality, or the human being is a reflection of the underlying model of all reality. So if we can use our Sheva Midos in the right ways and choose with Bechira to use those Midos, which are the Shivrei Kelim of those 7 Sefiros, to use them properly for Avodas Hashem and for Devekus and so on. So then by default, we are sort of we're being masakin the shivrei kelim of our little universe. If we all do that, then all of us collectively are being masakin the shivrei kelim of the entire universe on a holistic level, on a collective level. So we can do so individually, and we can do so collectively. This is why, by the way, that we find geula functions both on an individual level and on a collective level. Just happened to be writing something this week on Purim, and came across in here an amazing line from the Kamarna that just happens to coincide with what I just said. So I'll just say, right? He says, Ki kamosha yesh geula klalius, just as there is a general geula, which is bias hamashiach, Yehi Or Vayihi Or, which is reflected in the pasuk of Yehi Or Vayihi Or, right after in Ma'aseh Bereshis, right? We start off with the Bereshis Bar Elokim, then we have the shevirah, which, as we talked about the last 2 weeks, is va'olam tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei sahom ruach elokim merachefes al pnei amayim. That's the shevirah and the rapach nitzotzos that are mace within merachefes that are falling down, right? So that's the reality of the shevirah. And then what happens after the shevirah? Vayomer elokim yihi or vayihi or. That's the tikkun, right? So Bias HaMashiach is connected to vayihi or. There's a medrash that says explicitly vayihi or yihi or is the Orosh HaMashiach, right? So on a collective level, there's Geula, and that's called Mashiach. That we're familiar with. Chein hu l'chol adam prati, and the same thing applies to every single individual. There's also an individual Yemos HaMashiach or Bias HaMashiach for each and every individual that happens the same way that it happens on a collective level. It happens for the individual, or the same way that it happens for the individual. If all the individuals do it, then it happens on a collective level. Right? So the same thing when we're talking about being mavar nitzotzos, which as we said last time, once you're mavar all the nitzotzos, that's when you arrive at the cakes, and that's when you arrive at the tikkun ha'aseh. That's when you arrive at that future tikkun that's going to fix everything, and that's what we call Yemos HaMashiach. So the way to do it is one by one on an individual level, and individuals collectively on a communal level, and communities collectively on a national level, and nations collectively on a universal level, to be masakin these 7 midos. So how does this work? So Aleph, kli chesed, the kli of chesed, the kli of the sphere of chesed, kli rishon me'azayin kalim, the first of the 7 kalim, nivra kedei midas ha'ava ba'olam. So the purpose of chesed, the purpose of the kli called chesed is that there should be love in the world. There should be ava in the world. So all love that exists within the world, all expressions of love, all realities of love, all experiences of love, etc., those are all functions of the energy called chesed. And that's there so that we can love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'aftas Hashem Elokecha, ulev es HaTorah, so we can love Torah HaKadosha, la'asok bo ba'avo, l'kayim kol mitzvoseh ba'avo rabbah, so that we can be osek in Torah out of love, not because anyone forced us to, not because we're scared of being hit by lightning bolts if we don't know what to do, etc., but because we genuinely, truly just are enamored and obsessed with Torah. And so that we can do mitzvos, again, ba'ava rabbah. Val yedei shevirah, and because of the shevirah, naflu kitzas min nitzotzei ha'ava l'kelipah. So as a result of the shevirah, this concept of chesed, this concept of ava, breaks and falls downward, meaning it comes distant from the aura of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it becomes distant from closeness and devekus with the Or Ein Sof. Naflu kitzas min nitzotzei ha'ava l'kelipah, lefatos esa adam la'av devarim gashmiyim devarim ra'im. And those nitzotzos, the shivrei kalim, the sparks, the little leftover sparks of ava that fall down, meaning away from perfect alignment with the Ratzon Hashem. So now that manifests as the opportunity and the possibility of falling in love with things that are keneged the Ratzon Hashem. And that's where that reality comes from. Lev devarim gashmiyim, to love materiality, to love material things, the devarim ra'im, and to love bad things that are not good for us, things that are inconsistent with the Ratzon Hashem. So, and we're drawn to those things. Where does that reality come from? Where does that impulse come from? It's the same impulse that drives me to v'haftas Hashem Elokecha, drives me to v'haftas amos, or v'haftas anything else in the world that I happen to steak and wine and clothes and cars and women and houses and whatever it happens to be, whatever's your jam. All right, but it's the same exact thing. It's just that one of them is manifesting in kelipah. It's manifesting as ava, projected onto and manifested through material things that are lamata, that have fallen lamata, meaning they've fallen far, far, far away from yichud. That's what we talked about last time or 2 times ago, that mal and mata, things that are high and now they're low. It's just the distance between high and low is just a function of distance from yichud and alignment and connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now it's distance and disconnection and misalignment with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when we talk about nitzotzos and shiras hakelim falling downward, what we're talking about is the aspect of chesed, the manifestation of chesed, no longer being here connected to the Ein Sof, begilui, and in a felt manifest way. Now it's all the way down here, so to speak, i.e., it exists, but it exists in a sense where it could exist in out of whack and out of alignment with the Ratzon Hashem. V'yesh b'chira b'yado. So now that chesed has fallen into kelipah, or nitzotzos of chesed have fallen into kelipah, so now we have a choice to make. Live kar love as HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'taraso shehu makar ava. Either we can choose, we can use our love and we can express love and manifest love and actualize love in a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in a relationship with Torah, in a relationship with a spouse, in a relationship with children in a positive way. Ulakaim kol mitzvot Hashem ba'ava. Oh, live kar love devarim gashmim ran mitanugei olam hazeh shehu kalim v'nefsadim. Or we can choose to manifest, actualize, and lean into love that is for other things, that's manifested as connection between me and things that are either usher or things that are not HaKadosh Baruch Hu, things that are not positive. They're neutral materiality, but I'm going after them because I want them. Right? I love the steak, so I'm going to eat the steak. Not I'm eating the steak to appreciate HaKadosh Baruch Hu, appreciating how the steak got on my plate and the whole process, and marvel at the neflos habore, that all of that works, and somehow a steak ends up on my plate, and that's super cool. Or I can just it can be a lustful lusting after the steak, and now the love is falling into kelipah. Okay? So I have a choice, right? Because chesed has fallen into kelipah, I have a choice. And I can choose one way or the other. One way is to be mavar the nitzotzos of chesed and be mala them, elevate them back up to reconnect them with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because I'm using ava, I'm using the midah of ava to connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to connect to Torah and mitzvos, to actualize and drive myself closer to align myself with the Ratzon Hashem. Right? I can use my love if I love Torah. Right? If I love Torah the way some people love certain other things, if I love Torah, then I'm infatuated with Torah, and I'm going to learn all the time. When I'm not learning, I'm going to be thinking about learning, etc., etc. Or this mitzvah or that mitzvah, or God in general, or in positive ways, my spouse, my children, my parents, my community, whatever it is. But right, I can utilize love in a positive direction. I can utilize love in a negative direction. And I have a choice. And why do I have a choice? Because love has fallen into kelipah. So love looks the same. It looks the same way, right? There's no difference between my love of learning and my love of the ham sandwich. It's the same. It's love. It's the same drive. It's the same underlying drive. It's the same, I need this. I want this. I need to connect to this. I want to be closer to this. Whatever that, I want to know it. I want to understand it. I want to align with it. It's the same drive. It's just where am I directing it to? And that's possible. It's possible now to have chesed, to have ava that expresses itself as love for the ham sandwich. And ham sandwich is a dumb example. Because right, that's not typically within our range of practical bechira. But again, choose your favorite of here, right? But I have a choice, right? Because that love can actually actualize with that avera, because it's in kelipah, because it's fallen to kelipah. It's just a nitzotz of love. It's not chesed. The aura of chesed could never be directed at a ham sandwich. How could it be? The true aura of chesed could never be directed at a ham sandwich, because the aura of chesed I know is elokus, and the ham sandwich is out of whack with the Ratzon Hashem, so the two can't work together. But once chesed, the kli of chesed breaks, and now there's just a nitzotz of chesed that's within kelipah. So now chesed ava lav dafka. Chesed can be directed at things that are inconsistent with the Ratzon Hashem. It's possible. It's possible to do. Right? So that's chesed. Days. Kli gevura, the kli of gevura, shehi midas hayira. Gevura is the source of the midah of yiras Hashem, yira, right? Yira, awe, fear, trepidation, perhaps even a sense of smallness and insecurity, and so on and so forth. Yira, right? Nivra kadei liyar as Hashem Yisbarach. Why does gevura exist? What is gevura for? again, in a sense that it's aligned with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's there liyara es Hashem Yisbarach, to be in awe and sort of this giant appreciation of the enormousness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kamo shekasav es Hashem elokecha tira, da'ainu sheyiyah lo yira tata, so that the person should have yira tata, lower yira, shelo yaver chalila achas mimitzvos Hashem, asher lo tasena that a person should have yira in the sense of lower yira, lower, not higher yira. Higher yira is yiras haromus, right? That's yira of like the enormity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But lower yira is I don't want to get hit. Right? I'm interested in self-preservation. The Baal Tanya says this is just a function of the nefesh ba'amis, right? This is just our animal soul is the thing that provides us with an impulse towards self-preservation. If I'm going to get struck by a lightning bolt because I eat a ham sandwich, so I'm not going to eat the ham sandwich. That's yira tata, right? Just I don't want to get hit. The yira ilah, and then there's also a higher yira, mipnei gadlus habore, right? I'm in awe of HaKadosh Baruch Hu because of how massively awesome HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. Begin di'u rav v'shalit ikra v'sharash d'chal almin, because he is the master and the ruler and the source and the root of everything. And if you think about what that is for a few minutes, then you sort of walk away with, I don't know what you walk away with. There's no words. And likewise, yira is an important tool for being able to overcome the enticements of the Yetzer Hara, right? Because ava doesn't always work. Ava doesn't always work because I don't always feel it. But when I'm drawn after something I shouldn't be drawn after, and when the ava is acting awry, and the ava is falling into kelipah, and I'm going with it, and I'm not exercising my bechira properly, so I can now utilize yira and say, I really want the ham sandwich, but lightning bolts are not fun. I'm going to stay away. V'ayidei shevirah, but through the shevirah, nishava mimeni yiros tfelos v'gam midos rosh shel gevura kamo kas v'ritzich. But because Gevura, the kli of Gevura breaks and falls into kelipah, so now there is negative forms of ava. There's forms of ava that take me away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Most fundamentally, yira, that take me away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or distance me from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, disconnect me from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Most pronouncedly, in a most pronounced way, sort of a sense of insecurity, right? A lack of bitachon. Lack of bitachon is a function of yira. Lack of bitachon is a function of, huh?
We got the same alert here, so we got it.
You just got it a minute ago.
T-Mobile. Yeah. So yira in kelipah can now manifest as fear of silly things. Right? It's fear of things that I shouldn't be afraid of. Why shouldn't I be afraid of them? Because I should have emunah and I should have bitachon. I shouldn't worry about. I shouldn't be in fear of such things. I shouldn't worry about how I'm going to pay the bills at the end of the month. I shouldn't be in fear of that. I shouldn't live in insecurity or uncertainty about my own mortality, because I'm a chelek elokam imal and I'm connected with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? But to live in that insecurity, to have a sense of my mortality, and to therefore fear death, or to fear sickness, or to fear financial insecurity, as if whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen, and whatever
Most have hard time with that.
Yeah.
Yes, in bechira, but also things are sometimes you daven for something that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it can be an element of fear. There's just an element of you're afraid that it's not going to go the way that you. Meaning everything happens for the best, and everything happens for a reason. So, but in the moment, there's an allowance for that the direction it's supposed to go is not the direction that you want it to go. So then it ties back to having a emunah, but like in the moment, there's a real palpable sense of fear, especially if you know it may not go. You're dominating for it to go this way, could very well go that way.
So I think they're madrigos. I think they're madrigos for this, right? And kolachel from dagar delay. Everyone at whatever level they're holding, right? and I think it's also worth distinguishing between negative year in this sense, which creates distance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the real lived experience of when I stub my toe, it hurts, right? Meaning, when I stub my toe hurts. We don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt. That doesn't mean, though, that I have to be in existential worry about something, right? I don't have to live in existential fear, or God forbid something much worse, right? I lose my job, right? Losing your job hurts, but for that to turn into a sense of existential fear of the future, as if as if whatever is supposed to happen to me is not going to happen the right way. That, to whatever extent, is distance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? That is, again, not in a judgmental way. You bad boy, you don't have good emunah. But the reality is that experience is a chisar in emunah. Well, lav dafka anyone is capable of having that level of emunah. But it is if we're going to diagnose what you're experiencing right now, where's this fear coming from? It's God's not catching me, right? Or I may not be caught, or I may be caught in a way that I don't want, and if I don't want it that way, then that's a problem. But you're going to be caught in the right way, right? Emunah says,
That's the hardest one.
Yeah, that's the hardest one. 100%, it's the hardest one.
Which is what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the hardest one for sure. And there are many, many levels you can sit at before that, right? But yeah, there's madrigos for this for sure. There's madrig, but the diagnosis I think is important, which is to fear that either I'm not going to be caught, or I need to be caught a certain way in order to be okay. I need things to be a certain way in order for me to be okay, as opposed to however they are is okay. That is distance. That's disconnect. That's misalignment with the Ratzon Hashem. If I truly live the reality that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be, because it can't possibly be any other way, because there's only one force in the world, and therefore everything is a reflection of that Ratzon.
Forces you to take a step back.
What?
And think about, like, Hashem has a lot of ways of doing things. You think like you only see one way out of this situation. Money, this, that. You're like, there's no way that I could make this. And there's a lot of different ways that
that's true too.
To me, you're required, but like in the moment, there's a sense of, right? It's not existential, but it's
for sure
reality to have that.
For sure, and the truth is that experience of negative, quote unquote, right, bad year that he's talking about, right, Yeros Tiflos, is also not in and of itself bad, because if I'm experiencing that year, then that year that I'm experiencing, that bad year, right, the year of I'm not going to pay my mortgage this month, right, I just lost my job, or the year of the doctor just called me and the about the blood test, and I have to go in to see him, like, oh, what's going to be, or something like that, right? So that year, although in a certain sense is yeros tiflos, right, because everything's going to be the way it's supposed to be, and the way it's supposed to be has to be good by definition. Also, that year can bring me to a deeper realization of something much deeper, and a deeper connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is what Rabbi Nachman talks about in many, many places, right? That sense of Aye Makom Kavodcha, right? Where, God, you dropped the ball. Where are you, right? Things are supposed to be good. They're not good right now. What gives can be a vehicle for bringing me to a much deeper realization of the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and if so, then it becomes a vehicle for good things. Okay, so but in any case, in terms of shevirah, so gevura and yira fall into kelipah, and they can therefore manifest, right? But again, the point is that it's the same drive, right? The same thing that causes me to have yiras Hashem, yiras ha'onesh, yiras haromamos. The same midah is at play in the fears that I have, and the insecurities that I have. Even such silly insecurities, and he says, right, and it can manifest as midos ros, like kas, right? Anger, temper, ritzicha. Hopefully that one is not so common, but right, murder, right, etc. Right, or lots of other bad acts that can take place as a result of my sense of negative year, or my misplaced year. Okay. Kliat Sefiros, the kli of Tiferes, nivra kedei l'kayim zeh keli vanveyu. So the kli of Tiferes is beauty. Why does beauty exist within this world? It exists because it provides a vehicle for the manifestation of zeh keli vanveyu, of beautifying and edifying HaKadosh Baruch Hu, lahader, lefar, es kol mitzvot Hashem v'toraso. All right. How could you have a beautiful esrog if there was no such thing as beauty? It's a stupid question, but it's actually it's a real point, right? Like, beauty needs to be a concept in order to ever have a beautiful esrog, or beautiful menorah, or beautiful megillah, or whatever it happens to be. You can't beautify your mitzvos. Right? You can't add an aesthetic element to your mitzvos, which as human beings, like what else do we have? Right? I guess from God's perspective, it seems kind of silly, right? Your shalchmanos is so pretty, but that's all we got, right? That's all we got. All we have is purple cellophane and ribbons that we can twist into curly curls. Okay, that's all we got, right? So if that's what we have, then that's the vehicle for the thing we call beauty. And that's all we have to beautify things with, right? No different than we beautify ourselves, we beautify our homes. So the concept of beauty exists so we can beautify things, which is our investment in those things and our valuing and appreciation of those things. And we can apply them to mitzvos. Up to the point, right? By doing this, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu can say, Yisrael asher b'cha esper, Yisrael, through whom I am beautified. And of course, right, through the fact that now there's a shevirah, so Tiferes, Hisparos, beauty falls into shevirah, and so now beauty is found in all other places, right? Most originally and most fundamentally in the fruit of the Eitz Hadas Tovara, which is Yafaliros, right? It looks beautiful, right? That's our first beauty. Right, and that's beauty in a negative, right? Why? Because now that it's fallen into kelipah, what is beauty? Beauty can draw me to Keneged Ratzon Hashem, and we can use it to beautify things Keneged Ratzon Hashem, and we can use it to prop up and add frills and enticing things to things that are Keneged Ratzon Hashem, but we make them look fantastic, right? So we have a choice of how to use beauty and how to be drawn towards this beauty or that beauty, and how to utilize beauty. We have bechira over those things. Why? Because now beauty can exist in places that are misaligned with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or seem to be misaligned with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's possible, right? Same way I can have, I can have a beautiful Sefer Torah. I can also have, a beautiful Eitz Hadas Tovara, right? I can make the Sefer Torah beautiful. I can make the Christmas decorations beautiful, right? Christmas lights are beautiful, right? Nice Christmas light, not like throw up all over your lawn, Christmas lights. But there are many houses that have beautiful Christmas lights. Look, and Christmas is wonderful. Daddy, why can't we celebrate Christmas? Look at those lights; they're amazing, right? That's beauty. How can that happen? That only happens because of the shevirah, right? How can beauty manifest as something that is Keneged Ratzon Hashem only because of the shevirah? Now that there's a shevirah, now beauty can manifest both in positive and negative, and that leaves me with bechira and choice about how to utilize beauty, how to be drawn after beauty, how to connect to beauty. Kli netzach. The fourth kli, netzach, nivra kedei l'natzech es hayetzer v'kochos haraim hamonim osom yavdas Hashem Yisbarach. So netzach, which is perseverance, that exists to give a person the stubbornness and the perseverance to overcome all of the obstacles and all of the things that try to draw them away from and prevent them from fulfilling the Ratzon Hashem. And of course, because Netzach falls into shevirah, falls into kelipah, so now Netzach can manifest in negative ways also. Such as by being stubborn against good things, right? Anyone ever try to tell you something to correct you in some way, shape, or form, and they're right, and you're in the wrong, but immediately Netzach rears its head, right, and prevents you from seeing that you've made a mistake, from being receptive to the possibility that you made a mistake. Certainly, not receptive to correcting your behavior, because why? Unclear. right? I mean, really, the reason is because negative gevura is kicking in, and there's a sense of insecurity that is going to kick in, right? If I was wrong and you're right, then you can correct me. So where does that leave me in terms of my power relationship with you? And now I'm in trouble because you're now here and I'm down here, and what's that? And I'm an impermanent creature that's dependent on others. And now I was wrong and you're right, so now I'm dependent on you. And my negative gevura, my negative yira is kicking in also. But in any case, right, that stubbornness can apply not only to connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and alignment with the Ein Sof, but also with misalignment with the Ein Sof. Why? Because Netzach has fallen into through shevirah. Netzach has fallen into kelipah. Lasos nekama both an aser, and to take revenge, to do aser things through our stubbornness and our audacity and our chutzpah and so on and so forth. So it can manifest in either way. Kli hahod, the Kli of Hod, Nivra Kedei Lahodos Lashem Yisbarach Lahalo Shvacho, the Kli of Hod, which is gratitude, graciousness, conciliation, acknowledgement that I'm in your debt. That's what, right, when I say thank you to you. I always had this problem, right? Once upon a time, I used to wear nice clothing, and people would say all the time, "Oh, well, that's a nice suit," and I could never say thank you. I always said, "Yeah, I know." Or, of course it is. I only wear nice suits. Something like I can never say thank you. Why couldn't I say thank you? Because what is thank you? Thank you is a recognition that I'm in your debt. I needed something from you. I needed the compliment from you, right? I was missing something. What was I missing? I was missing the affirmation that can come from outside of myself that I have good taste in clothing. Thank you for telling me that my clothing is nice. What is that? That puts me in a position of dependency on you, as opposed to I brush off your compliment because I'm too good for your compliment. I don't need your compliment. That's a negative defense mechanism, right? So hoda, right? Hod, the midah of hod is gratitude, conciliation, is sort of right to bow your head and to say, right, thank you. I'm in debt to you. I need you too. Thank you. And so we can use that midah for why does that midah exist? Because now it enables a relationship of hoda towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a relationship of I am in your debt. I appreciate that what you provide for me is not mine, and it's not just coming to me and I don't deserve it. I am in your debt for providing it for me. And so we can manifest, we can create that kind of relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where we're suppressing our ego, we're suppressing also our negative yira, right? Because now we find ourselves in a position of insecurity, right? I'm in debt to you, I need you, and that's okay because I can need you. You're a good person to need, right? Because you'll catch me when I fall anyway. So it's okay if I need you. I don't like to be in your debt, right? In people's debt, I don't like to be needy of other people because other people stink and they'll not treat me right when I'm in their debt. Right now, I'm under their thumb and they can. I'm not independent. I can't take care of myself, and who knows what they're going to want of me in order for me to get what I need from them. Right? So hodah towards other people, that's scary. But hodah towards the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that should be a positive thing, right? That's me suppressing my ego, my sense of I can exist on my own 2 feet and I need nothing outside of myself. To no, I don't exist on my own 2 feet. I always and completely and totally am dependent on you, and that's fine by me, because what else could be better? So hod exists for that. And through the shevirah, hod, the midah of gratitude, conciliation, indebtedness, and so on, falls into kelipah, and now it can manifest and be activated and practiced in ways that misalign, disconnect us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, such as by thanking and appreciating and praising and being indebted to evil, bad things, bad people, bad things, being dependent on bad things, needing bad things, needing all kinds of things outside of myself, as opposed to, again, having the emunah to say I don't need anything. Anything negative is not right. The money I can make, the money I can make by stealing, I don't need that money, so I'm not indebted to that. I'm not in a position of subservience to that, or whatever else it happens to be. Right, but we can be indebted to that, right? We can feel a sense of, or we can activate we can activate hodah, we can activate a sense of dependence and a sense of gratitude and a sense of appreciation for negative things, and that puts us in a position of subservience to those negative things, which now draws me further and further away from alignment with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because now I'm dependent on the ham sandwich for my food, and I'm dependent on, the yayin nesach for my drink, and I'm dependent on, other things for other things, and so on and so forth. Fine. So hod now, because it exists within kelipah, can be used in positive ways. It can be used in negative ways. Kliya Yesod. Now, Kliya Yesod nivra kedei lidavek atzmo b'Hashem yisbarach b'dveikus amiti. Yesod, which corresponds to the reproductive organ, that's the medium of connection between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yesod exists because that is the very definition of connection between two things that are now are apart from each other and can be made one, or should be one, and now are separated and can be made one again, right? And that medium, whatever it is that medium is, usually mitzvos, avoda, etc., is all in Yesod, typically, because each and every mitzvah is a point of connection. It's the medium of connection. Okay, and why does that concept exist? Because that facilitates connection. That's attachment. That's connection. That's relationship. That's what Yesod is. That's why it exists within the world. So I can have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I can be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To the extent that I experience the dveikus with Elokus, that's all Yesod happened. Ulakasher atzmo im tamid chachamim v'yarei Hashem, and to also connect not only to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but also to tzaddikim, to people, right? To other people who connect me and lead me to positive things, and so on. And now, connection, relationship can be used in very negative ways to connect to negative influences. And to connect me to things that I crave, I lust after, I crave after, and I'm connected to. I connect to them. The experience of connecting with the avera, or the object of my avera, or whatever it happens to be, that encounter of connection, that's Yesod, but that's Yesod and kelipah, and both of them are the same Yesod operating, but one is enclosed and meluvash in materiality, and because it was so quote unquote broken and the shevirah took place, so now Yesod can manifest, relationship can happen in ways that are misaligned from the Ratzon Hashem. Kli Malchus, the Kli of Malchus, Nivra Kedei Lahamlich Es Hashem Yisbarach Al Kol Evar V'Gidav. The idea of sovereignty, the idea of Malchus, of royalty, etc., exists to activate the whole notion of being Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the entirety of our being. And to accept upon ourselves the responsibility and the duty of whatever it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants of us. And we're bound by that. We're bound by that because the king commanded it. Right? There's no such, that can't happen. That whole idea can't happen if there's no such thing as Malchus. Right? So that's what Malchus is. Sovereignty, the idea of sovereignty, the idea of rulership and so on, that doesn't activate, right? Hierarchical rulership is Malchus. Right? Yira, Ava, those don't cover this. That's horizontal relationship. That's a relationship between equals, right? Ava, Yira is a little bit, but Yira is not Malchus. Yira is the mugger wanting my money. Malchus is the IRS. Right? The difference between the mugger and the IRS, they both take my money, but the IRS is legit and the mugger is not legit. Why? One is Malchus and one is just Yira. Right? So Malchus creates obligation. It creates a responsibility. It creates Kabbalah's ol. And because of the shevirah, so the concept of Malchus now falls into kelipah and can exist in ways that are misaligned with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, within materiality and in physical, material ways that seem to be valuable in and of themselves, distinct and separate from their connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, such as the taiva to subserviate myself to the Yetzer Hara. And I'm gonna let the Yetzer Hara run the show. Where does that come from? The whole notion that the Yetzer Hara should run the show, and I'm going to do what it tells me to do. I'm going to do what some inner drive within me that says do things that are keneged the Ratzon Hashem. Where does the possibility of subjecting myself to that Ratzon come from? Only from Malchus. I'm giving that thing control over me. That's what Malchus is. How can I have Malchus that is misaligned with the Ratzon Hashem? Only because Malchus has fallen into Klippa through the shevirah. Lahachnis says kol kocho machshavas lios eved lekocho sarah, to subserviate myself, right, to the forces of evil, to things that pull me in wrong directions. Additionally, I would add, right, that malchus in klipa means that power, sovereignty, control, rulership can be used in negative ways, ways that are disconnected from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to control other people, to manipulate other people, to manipulate situations. To keep a tight grasp on things, to protect yourself and to protect your own ego and to protect your own, systems that you've put in place and institutions that you've created and whatever else it happens to be. So that's malchus beklipa. And that's malchus manifesting in negative ways and it can happen. Why? Only because of the shevirah and malchus falling into klipa. So that now we have a choice about how we use the concept of sovereignty and rulership and control. And whenever one of these midos arise within a person in a way that draws them towards the bad, i.e., things that are not aligned with the Ratzon Hashem, a love leda shezeu koach hanitzos hanishlach lo min hashamayim l'sakno la'alos l'kedusha. So the thing to know is that every time you encounter a midah that's now drawing you into or creating the possibility of doing something that's not fully and perfectly aligned with the Ratzon Hashem, what you are now encountering, what's now being thrown into you, what you're experiencing, the reality of this experience is the nitzots that is now presenting itself to you with the opportunity to be mavarer it and return it to the Ein Sof, to clarify the elokus that's within this experience and situation, or lahefach, to not clarify it and have it sink deeper and deeper into klipa, depending on what choice you're going to make. Right? You're being presented with the opportunity to use this midah, i.e., this nitzos, which is right the beating heart behind the experience that's currently taking place. You can use this midah for positive, for avodas Hashem, or you can use this midah for negative. And if you are nichshal, if you mess up, and you take this nitzos, right, this power of malchus, this power of ava, this power of yira, whatever it happens to be, and instead of using it in a positive way that aligns it with the Ratzon Hashem, you use it in a negative way, you allow it to manifest in a negative way that creates distance and misalignment with the Ratzon Hashem. So then then you have work to do, then you have tshuva to do, right? Because now I've taken a nitzos that needed to be fixed, needed to be reconnected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, needed to be shown that this nitzos, this materiality is actually just HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's just Elokus. And instead of showing that it was Elokus, I sunk it deeper into something that's distant from Elokus, that's misaligned with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because I did something keneged the Ratzon Hashem, as if I'm demonstrating through my actions, through my use of my midos, that it is possible for a world and me and reality to exist apart from the Ratzon Hashem. Why? Because I just did it. I thumbed my nose at God. God said, do X. I did Y. What does that show? That shows that I'm in charge. That shows that this reality is real. The reality of everything is not Enod Movado. The reality is there's nothing but me, right? There's nothing but what I want. That's what I just shown. So what did I really just do? I took this nitzos, I took this midah, and I sunk it deeper into klipa, meaning I sunk it deeper into a material reality that demonstrates or manifests and shows that reality exists separate from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? The yichud of everything is not true. That's what I just showed. So I have to fix that. That takes tshuva. What is tshuva? Tshuva is a reconnection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why tshuva is tshuva. What is tshuva? Tshuva is to take something and to turn back towards the HaKadosh Baruch Hu and bring the thing that I screwed up, take the thing that I messed up and draw it back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu specifically through the fact that now I'm recognizing that what I did was incorrect. Even the fact that I recognize that what I did was incorrect is in and of itself a act of bir nitzotzos, right? Because within my own conscience, what did I just do? I ate the ham sandwich, and now I tell myself, oh, I shouldn't have eaten the ham sandwich. The ham sandwich that was not what Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't want me to eat the ham sandwich. It was keneged the Ratzon Hashem. So that in and of itself is now being mavar the fact that the ham sandwich is keneged the Ratzon Hashem. The ava that I used to lust after the ham sandwich and ate them, whatever it is, right? Now I just drawn that up simply by recognizing that it didn't go the right way. It should have gone differently. And now when I fix it the next time, I've now brought it up a little bit more and a little bit more, right? When I verbalize it with vidui, I've concretized my realization, right? I think it in my head, I have harat in my head, and now I express that verbally and I make it concrete outside of myself. And then I encounter another ham sandwich and I say, no, thank you, I'm not going to have it this time because I realize the ham sandwich is not the thing it's not where Ava is supposed to be, right? And so now through tshuva, I'm taking that nitzos that I mistakenly sunk deeper into kelipah, and now I'm pulling it back out of kelipah. V'ascholas hatshuva hi l'schazik b'liman Torah v'shmiras Shabbos Kodesh, and the beginning of tshuva is to learn more Torah and to be careful of Shabbos. Shal yadam yachol b'nikol la'alos nitzotzin ha'avudim. Through Shabbos and through Torah, it becomes very, very easy to be mala the nitzotzos that you've sunk into the bad places. And therefore, that is why specifically, right? We know the famous medrash, right? If we kept two Shabboses, right, that would fix that would bring the geula. Why? Shabbos in particular is especially connected to this idea of being mala nitzotzos. We could talk for a week or 2 weeks just on this point, but the whole idea of Shabbos is that Shabbos says that all of the material world is just Elokus. Everything is fine exactly the way it is. Comes candle lighting on Friday. However things are on Friday at candle lighting, that's good. I don't have to change anything. I can live in this reality and it's perfectly fine. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to adjust anything. Whatever food I have, that's what I have, and it'll be fine. And however the lights are, they'll stay that way, and it's perfectly fine. And whatever emails are sitting in my inbox, they'll wait until afterwards, and nothing bad will happen, or if something bad happens, and that's fine too. Whatever happens is perfectly fine. I don't have to change anything because all of reality is just exactly the way it's supposed to be. That's the epitome of being mala nitzotzos, right? That's exactly what we're trying to go for here. And so Shabbos in particular is very mesugal for this idea of being mala nitzotzos. So in any case, okay, fine, stop there.